My best friend that happened to be got both of us kicked out of school because she was wearing foundation that was too dark for her. Now, going to an all palm colored school, you try to gravitate towards people who kind of gravitate towards you. Well, this girl, Grace, gravitated towards me. She always made me feel very comfortable and I always had a partner and someone to eat lunch with. After a while of us going to school together, prom was eventually around the corner. She got her a date and she kept asking me if I was going to get one as well. I told her that I wanted to go with her boyfriend's best friend, but he had never asked me. So Grace told me that she'd do me a favor and start dropping hints to her boyfriend that his best friend should ask me to prom. Then after a while, he wasn't taking the hint, so Grace just flat out asked her boyfriend, "Can your best friend take my best friend to prom?" Then he goes, "Oh, he already has a date." And then she's like, no, he doesn't. I already asked him if he had a date. And then he's like, "Well, he doesn't want to take your friend." And she's like, "Why not?" He's like, "Because she's a..." Grace was like, she couldn't believe she was dating him that entire time. So prom night comes and we're both getting ready. And then I noticed that she's putting on all of my foundation, like for part 2. Part 2 about how my best friend Grace got both of us kicked out of school on prom night for wearing foundation that was too dark for her. So she starts to put on all of my makeup. And I'm like, "Grace, what are you doing?" And she's like, "Oh, nothing, just throwing on some makeup. You don't mind, do you?" And I'm like, "No, knock yourself out." Or someone else probably will. She looked like an absolute clown. But we went together anyway, and she kept reassuring me that we were going to have fun no matter what. And we don't need dates, even though she had one. So we pull up to prom, and the first people we see is her boyfriend and the guy I wanted to ask me out. Both of them come up to us and says, "What the heck is going on?" And she says, "If you don't want to date her because of how she looks, then you can't date me, because now we look the same." I was like, wait a minute, that's what you were doing? Yeah, right message, wrong way to do it. The principal then came and told us that we both had to leave because what we were doing was very offensive. They said that it was offensive what I was doing because I was defending her. I was only defending her because she was my friend, not because of what she actually did. I knew her motive, but we still got thrown out.
Storytime. I became a stepmom at 22 and my stepkids hate me. So a little background information. I was 22 and working at Hooters, and I had this one regular who literally came in every single day that I worked. I mean, it wasn't really creepy because I did give him my schedule because he tipped really well, but that's besides the point. The one night he asked me out, and obviously I knew that he was going to pay for our dinner, so I said yes because I was hungry and I did not want to pay for food. So anyways, I go on this date and I actually end up really liking him just to find out that he is 40 years old. Fast forward a few months, we start dating, and he realizes that I still live at home with my mom and dad. So he's like, "Oh, like, you can move in with me, but first you need to meet my kids." And I thought that his kids were going to be 2 and 3 years old. No, when I went over to dinner the one night at their house, there were 4 kids who were literally all above the age 13. And every single one of the girls gave me a death stare as I sat down in my chair, like for part 2. Part 2 about how I became a stepmom at 22 and my stepkids hate me. So like I said, we're all sitting down in the dining room and there's 4 kids. There's 1 boy, 3 girls. The 1 boy is 14 and all the other girls are 15, 16, and 19. And we're going to call my boyfriend James. James is like, "Okay, well, I'm going to go back to the kitchen and finish cooking. You guys should bond a little bit." So he leaves me alone with these little roaches and they just start firing shots at me. They're like, "You're a gold digger, aren't you? Don't worry, my dad will never marry you, so you're not going to get any of his money." So after that, I told James that they need to warm up to me a little bit more before I move in. So for the next month, we would try to plan things with the kids. But anytime that I was going to be there, every single one of them would be like, "We're not going, we hate her." Eventually, James just asked me to marry him. So I moved in and then a week later we got married. His kids didn't show up to the wedding and James had to go on a work trip. So I was moving some of my stuff into the house from the car and the kids locked me out of the house. This has all been within the span of 5 months. What should I do?
Am I wrong for blowing up at a nurse for telling me that my daughter wasn't my daughter? So me and my partner adopted our daughter 2 years ago. We don't have any biological children and we don't really plan to just yet. Our daughter is 6 years old now. She does understand that she's adopted, and we've made it clear time and time again that even though she didn't come from my belly, we still love her and treat her as if she did. The other day I took her to a pediatrician because she said that one of her ears felt full. She did have a cold last week, so that was expected, and he said that her ear would drain out eventually. All good. The nurse comes in with the discharge sheet and commented that she would never assume that I was the mother of my daughter since I looked nothing like her, which I don't for obvious reasons. So then I said, "Oh yeah, we adopted her, so that's why she doesn't look like me or my husband." Then the nurse goes, "Oh, okay, so she isn't your daughter." I was a little confused because I thought I had just explained this whole situation. I said again, "She is my daughter. We adopted her a few years back." The nurse says, "But technically, she isn't really your daughter, and her real mom is somewhere else." I was really upset. I said again, "But she is my daughter, and I am her mom." The nurse kind of sighed and said, "Okay, maybe legally you are, but her real mom is the one that gave birth to her." My daughter was looking up at me kind of confused, and I can't even imagine what was going through her head. I had enough. I said to the nurse, "What is wrong with you? I keep telling you that I am her mother and you keep denying that, and in front of my daughter no less." The nurse goes, "I'm just stating a fact. Biologically, she's not yours." I went again, "Yeah, because she's adopted. We adopted her and gave her a home. What, I have to physically push her out of me to be her mother?" The nurse goes, "Well, that's the dictionary definition of what a mom is." I had enough. I told her to wash her mouth of what she has been saying to me and my daughter, and I left and went home. I was really shaken up at this point and still was when I got home and my husband noticed. I told him what had happened, and he told me that the nurse was really dumb for saying that, but I shouldn't have blown up on her like that. So, am I wrong for my reaction?
Story time about when I punched my racist brother-in-law and sent him to the hospital, then refused to pay the bill. I, 28, have been dating my girlfriend, 28, for a few years now, and between just the two of us, everything is perfectly fine. The only problem that we do have is her immediate family, parents and siblings. I'm white and originally Dutch, she's originally Japanese. Between us, we don't care, but her family does. Especially at first, her family was against her dating a white boy. She ignored them, and for the most part, so did I. Over the few years, her father has started to warm up to me slowly, but her mother and brother still dislike me an awful lot. The mom just gives me the silent treatment most of the time, but her brother is sometimes downright racist towards me, my family, he never met them, and culture. A couple of days ago, we were at the in-laws' place for dinner in an attempt, number 100 it feels like, to find some mutual respect. Dad-in-law was fine with it and talked to me, mother-in-law was ignoring me half of the time, and brother-in-law gave me angry stares. After a while, he started to go off on racist tirade against me and all you white people, and I had enough of it. I stood up for myself and my girlfriend backed me up. Eventually, brother-in-law stood up and walked to me and my girlfriend. In a reflex, I stood up as well. After some insults in Japanese, I'm learning the language but have no idea what he said. He then slapped her in the face and spat in mine. He didn't slap her hard, but hard enough to be audible. Now, I'm at least a full head taller than him and almost twice as broad, so when I punched him in the face, he was immediately knocked out. I left my girlfriend in the tow. I was shaking and couldn't drive, so she drove us home while fully assuring me that she's on my side. Yesterday, I received a message from the in-laws and now they demand I pay the hospital bill since I apparently fractured his cheekbone. I have no intention to pay it, and when my girlfriend read it, she was also like, "I'm not sure what to do with it now, especially since I was starting to actually get along well with her father. The progress seems to be undone now."
Craziest things YouTubers have done for views? You're not gonna believe this one. Do y'all remember Sam and Nia? They were a family channel. But allegedly, they faked a whole pregnancy and miscarriage for views. The reason this video went viral was because Sam surprised Nia telling her that she was pregnant. But how would he know before she does? Well, supposedly Nia went to pee, but she didn't flush the toilet because she didn't want to wake up the baby. Grabbed a dropper, took some pee drops out of the toilet, and put them on a pregnancy test that came out positive. What had a lot of people questioning was Nia's reaction.
Did you get a dropper out of the toilet? No, you didn't. No way.
Like, it seems too scripted. Like, did you get a dropper out of the toilet? It's all allegedly though. But a couple days later, they came out that they allegedly had a miscarriage, but never went to the doctor to confirm they were pregnant.